Can the courts put limits, geographical limits, about your free speech? Well, that's the question before the Supreme Court today.
The High Court has heard a case about a law that prevents pro-life supporters from voicing their opinions too close to an abortion clinic. Paul Strand has that story from Washington.
Massachusetts set up 35-foot bubble zones around the entrances and exits to its abortion clinics in 2007 after a few episodes of violence, even murder of clinic workers, and angry confrontations.
There were large groups of people standing shoulder to shoulder in our doorway, usually screaming at full volume, not quiet counseling, trying to prevent our patients and staff from coming into the health center.
Pro-choicers say this bubble zone law is needed to protect pregnant women from harassment, but pro-lifers say it's preventing them from saving unborn babies whose mothers might change their mind about an abortion if they just heard a gentle and quiet word. And that's what pro-life sidewalk counselors like Eleanor McCullen say they can no longer do, quiet counseling that talks women out of abortions.
Mrs. McCullen and others have been greatly hindered in their ministry. They've had hundreds of saves in the past, and that's dwindled to next to nothing. So this is a real-world unconstitutional law that is claiming real lives.
McCullen and others sued over the Massachusetts law. She told CBN News she doesn't harass women but helps them, and she's found most women don't really want to get an abortion. They just can't see a way out until someone like her comes along.
They want to talk to somebody, but if I miss them, I have to stop at the line. That's what is infuriating. Just losing one baby is one too many, especially when it's by abortion. You know, 1/4 of our young people are missing.
The court has upheld the bubble zone law in the past, but a number of justices in their questioning seemed opposed to this Massachusetts law. The fate of similar buffer zone laws all around the country now hangs in the balance. Paul Strand, CBN News, the Supreme Court.
In other news, a new government report says the deadly attacks on Americans in Benghazi could have been prevented. John Jessup has that story from Washington. John?
Gordon, the report is the finding of a year-long investigation by the Senate Intelligence Committee. Senators wanted to know what exactly prompted the attacks that left 4 Americans dead, including U.S. Ambassador Chris Stevens. Ephraim Graham has the story.
In the first truly bipartisan look at the deadly attack at the U.S. consulate in Benghazi, a Senate committee blames the State Department, the military, and U.S. intelligence for missing obvious warning signs. The report indicates there were no protests prior to the attacks, as the White House first claimed. At least 60 terrorists penetrated the consulate, and 5 extremist groups took part, all with ties to al-Qaeda. This report is highly critical of the State Department, which was run by Hillary Clinton at the time. In response, Clinton's spokesperson referred all questions back to the State Department, which disputed the conclusion the attack could have been prevented. But others contend the threat was clear. Senator Zaxby Chambliss issued this statement. In spite of the deteriorating security situation in Benghazi and ample strategic warnings, the United States government simply did not do enough to prevent these attacks and ensure the safety of those serving in Benghazi. Ephraim Graham, CBN News.
The report also points out that Ambassador Stevens had rejected additional security before the attacks. Well, today is National Religious Freedom Day in America. Every January 16th, the president issues a proclamation commemorating the passage of the Virginia Statute for Religious Freedom enacted back in 1786. Thomas Jefferson wrote the statute, which later became the basis for the Religious Freedom Guarantee in the First Amendment to the Constitution. The statute reads in part, "No man shall be compelled to frequent or support any religious worship, place, or ministry whatsoever, and that all men shall be free to profess and by argument to maintain their opinion in matters of religion." And Gordon, more than 220 years later, that right remains one of the foremost freedoms we have in America.
It is, and it's also part of the UN Charter. The UN has passed the freedom of conscience. Similar wording, not identical, but similar. And it's amazing that, you know, when we look at the world today, how often that charter is not being followed. And it's especially tragic that in Afghanistan and Iraq, countries where Americans have lost their blood and their lives, we installed a constitution that doesn't guarantee that. We installed constitutions that were based on Sharia law, which recognizes no religion other than Islam.